In my scrolling halftone tutorial, a viewer asked me, this is cool and all, but what if I want to put this on like text or an object? So this is a follow-up video to show you how to do that. Alright, before we get started, you should subscribe because by the end of this tutorial, you're going to want to subscribe anyway, so you might as well not delay the inevitable. You can always undo it later. So let's look at what we have here. I have a parent collection with two sub-collections, one called cubes, which are the cubes in the background, and one called dots, containing the monkey that we're going to apply the effect to. I also have the camera and the light as children of the parent collection. Our first goal is to separate these different objects into different view layers so we can render them separately. So let's go all the way to the top right and you'll see something called view layer. This is the name of the default view layer. This view layer contains everything in the scene that we have. I'm going to create a new view layer by clicking on the little page icon next to it and selecting new view layer. I'm going to call this view layer dots, and this is going to correspond to our dots collection. Now, it doesn't need to have the exact same name, but it's nice when you're trying to figure out which view layer corresponds to which collection. So now that we're on the dots view layer, I'm going to go to the cubes collection, select it, right click, go to view layer, and disable it from the view layer. And now I'm going to create a second view layer and call this view layer cubes. And now that I'm on this view layer, I'm going to disable the dots from this view layer. So select the dots collection, right click, view layer, disable from view layer. Now we have two view layers. One view layer contains the camera and the light and the target object, and one view layer contains the camera and the light and the cubes. Now, before we apply this effect, if you're using the Eevee render engine like I am, you need to do one thing. Go to the render settings, go to film, and tick transparent. This is going to allow us to use a transparent background and therefore the alpha channel. Now that we're in the compositor, it should be exactly how we left it from the previous tutorial. The first order of business is to add that render layer in. So we can do that by hitting Shift A, use the search function, and search render layers. And this render layers node allows us to select any render layer from our scene and use it as an image. So I'm going to select the dots render layer, and I'll hook this up to the viewer node to see what's going on. And render. Perfect, just what we wanted. So let's apply the effect to this target object. I'm going to hit Shift A and search for a mix node. This will allow us to multiply the two layers together. I'm going to plug the image effect into the first image and the render layer into the second image and multiply those together. Anywhere that's white will be the full image effect, anywhere that's black will be black. So now that we have this, we can just add the background, right? Let's try that. So I'll create a new mix node and set this to add. And I'll create a new render layer node, set this render layer to the cubes render layer, and plug that image into the other input of the add node, and that should add the two view layers together, and we should have what we want. But not quite. There is a little bit of weird stuff happening where the two view layers overlap. So to fix this, we want to get rid of the cube layer wherever the target object is. First, we need to figure out where the target object is, and we can do this with the alpha channel. If I plug the alpha channel into the view node, we can see that it shows wherever the target object is in white and wherever it isn't in black. We want wherever it isn't to be white. I'll hit Shift A once more and search for an invert node, or invert color specifically. Make sure RGB is checked and not alpha. And now we can multiply this by the cube render layer using a multiply node. There we go, we now have the cube layer minus wherever the target object is. The only step left is to combine these two, so we take the cube layer and add that to the original target object with the image effect. There we have it, exactly what we wanted. If you found this video helpful, drop a like and stay tuned for when I turn this shader into an actual material that you can drop on objects.